Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. Before we dive into this powerful episode, please remember to subscribe to our channels and give us a 5-star rating on iTunes to continue hustling. This episode is brought to you by Peach State Payments. Ethical processing, more profit, less stress. Chiro HD, more than an EHR. Practice management simplified. The Chiro Speaking Company. Attract, educate, and convert. Chiro Spring, cloud-based, user-friendly software with all the essential features chiropractors need. OmniWave, redefining comfort and acoustic wave technology. Chiro Health USA. Chiro Script AI. Chiro Moguls. Pure Chiro Notes. 5-Star Forge, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, Life Chiropractic College West, and the IFCO. Let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 728 of the Chiro Hustle Podcast. I'm your producer, Luke Millette, and here's your host, James Chester.
So today we had the opportunity of interviewing Dr. Dan Lyons, and if you want to hear our conversation about philosophy and the Gonstead technique, stay tuned for the full episode. Welcome back. This is another episode of the Chiro Hustle Podcast. Today I have a colleague, friend, lover of chiropractic, Dan Lyons on with me, coming from, I believe you're in Green Bay today, right?
I am. Yeah, gotta ask me that. You never know where I'm going to be.
And he was on, go check out the other episode that he was on back in 2024. It's episode 592. Go check us out on chirohustle.com and listen to Dan's first interview with us. And then this is episode 728. So it's been a little bit of a gap, but it's always nice to have him on as a guest. We'll get into a little bit of the nuts and bolts of his story. But before we get into that, I'm going to tell you our why. Why do we do what we do over here at Chiro Hustle? Well, first things first is we protect freedom of speech. Our show has never censored anybody, and we know what it's like to be censored and traffic throttled and shadow banned, and we'd never do that to you. We also believe in medical freedom and family health freedom. They are not the same things, but if you need guidance with any of those topics, reach out to a chiropractor in your city or neighborhood. They'd be happy to be that advocate for you and your family. Philosophically speaking, we do protect the sacred trust. That's BJ Palmer's last written words. If you don't know what that is, go to the show notes and click on it. I don't care if you've been practicing for 30 years. Go learn more about this beautiful profession, and you're going to fall more in love with chiropractic like we all do. Once again, more philosophy. We believe in subluxation-based chiropractic. I know we shouldn't have to say this, but they are removing some of this stuff from our colleges. So if you know a chiropractic student or a new grad, please share the show with them. That would be the greatest gift that you could do for anybody that needs to understand chiropractic, the fundamentals and the philosophy, because we cover a lot of those topics. And today, that's one of the big things that we're going to discuss with Dan today. And then we believe in innate intelligence and universal intelligence. And we believe in the educated intelligence. We believe that when man or woman, the physical gets adjusted, it connects them to man or woman, the spiritual. And that creates the educated intelligence. I know it sounds like a bunch of woo-woo, but let's get everybody adjusted. And with that, this is episode 728. Dan, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I was just thinking, how asleep at the wheel were we that you've been doing this for 8 years, and we've known each other for almost 8 years, and I just was on last year for the first time. I apologize.
Asleep at the wheel.
Yeah. We're rolling, and we see each other several times a year. I remember being at homecoming at Palmer a couple of years ago, and all of a sudden I feel a hand on my back and turn around, and there you were.
Yeah, man.
Family hanging out.
Yeah, and you know, we're going to talk about some cool projects that you're doing called the Immortal Chiro, and there's some frameworks within that on philosophy, analysis, case management. But I really think the cornerstone of that all starts with the X-ray, and I really want to go and talk about that today. But before we get into those topics, let's talk a little bit about your pathway, about how you got to where you are today in chiropractic.
All right. I was not someone that I didn't have grow up in a chiropractic family. I had been to the chiropractor when I was in high school. Pretty much it was all pain based. Uh, I'm a Gonstead instructor, and I only practice Gonstead. I've never done anything but Gonstead, and I grew up real near the Gonstead clinic, and still didn't know anything about it. I'd even been in the room when my parents were seeing Clarence, and I don't remember that. I remember a lot of dumb stuff from my childhood, but I don't remember, that it could have been the most impactful thing in my career. And I didn't have a huge chiropractic experience that made me become a chiropractor. It was, me breaking my neck in a car accident, and then not my surgeon. I had a great surgeon, but he was kind of a jerk. And with my 22-year-old crocodile brain, I, I came to the false understanding that in order to be great at medicine, because that's what I was thinking I was going to do, I was going to be I had to be a jerk. And I just remembered my chiropractor. He was a nice guy. He did well for himself. And I'm like, maybe I'll try that. And so I went down to Palmer, and I had some classmates. I had a friend from high school that was in school, and she was interning with the guy that became my mentor, Dr. Larry Troxell. And I had some classmates that invited me out to a workshop, and I said, I can't go. I'm already committed to go to another one. And so I went to my first Thursday night workshop, and lo and behold, that's the same place my classmates were going to. And it just, I tried out all the other clubs, but Gonstead is really what made sense to me. And I had a partial engineering. I'm about a semester and a half from an engineering degree, which is something that, Clarence did as well. So that's probably why it made so much sense to me. But when I started, the thing that drew me to the intern program more so than the Gonstead technique or the Gonstead system was that I got to work in a real working clinic, intern in there outside of school, because I knew that the school clinic, because I'd been a patient there, was not what it was like in real life. I'd been a patient, when I was in high school in an actual clinic, and then I was in the school clinic, and they weren't the same experience whatsoever. So I figured I'd go become an intern and then get to work in a clinic and understand both sides, being a patient, being the doctor, and also the staff, because you have to understand all that if you're going to own a clinic. And that really had a huge impact on me. And I see the students that are able to have that experience, something like that. Maybe their father or mother are a chiropractor, or an aunt or uncle, so they get that real working experience, or they find something like that in school. And there are several similar intern programs around. I know Dr. Rick Burns, who taught at Palmer for forever and a day. He was head of the technique department when I was there. He's had interns for years. Troxell intern program still around. Jeff Lawler has one down by Logan. And I think there really needs to be more of those to kind of balance out the school book CCE guided education, and then the real world. This is how you locate, analyze, correct vertebral subluxations, and make a living doing it.
Well, if you were to ask me, I think that's where the real learning room is. The real learning room is not inside of the coursework that you get trained to pass the boards with. It's being around other people that are becoming masters of the craft of locating, detecting, and correcting vertebral subluxations.
Exactly. But even the clinic experience, because when I interned for Troxell, I was not adjusting anybody. You do, exams and all the other patient work, but adjust. But you still have to get your hands on. And so the student clinic is important, because you have to learn how to use these. But there's no way you get good in the student clinic, especially these days. You just don't do it often enough. You need 250 contacts with patients at some schools, less with others. So that's less than one person a day for a year. You don't get good at doing anything once a day. Sleeping, maybe.
So let's just play this game for a minute and say you had yourself a first year student that you came in touch with. How would you guide them to becoming the best chiropractor?
Um, the first thing, so like my kids were contemplating going to school, and I said, I'm not going to tell you where to go to school, but if you want to do what I do, then you want to go to Palmer so you can intern with Josh. So the first thing is you have to decide, what you want to do. Are you going to be a Thompson chiropractor? Do you want to use Gonstead? Do you want to do Palmer package? And then find a mentor, and not just a doctor, but someone that really has the spirit of mentorship in them, that you connect with, so that they can lead you down those paths. Because it would be horrible to have to figure it all out on your own. You need to learn all these steps, and then you become versed in the basics. Everybody wants to. The students come out of school and they think, I'm going to be seeing, 1,000 people a week, and by the end of my first year, and I'm going to do all this stuff, and you're not ready for that. When I've had associates come in, and I've got decent volume. I'm not seeing 100 people a day regularly, like some people, but if they come in and they see 70 people in a day, they're tuckered out. And if you want to be high volume, you have to work up to that. You don't go from never having run to running a 4-minute mile overnight. You have to work up to that. You start at 10 minutes and then you get to 9.5 minutes. And it's the same with this. And there are steps, and everything that we do builds upon something else. And so if you want to learn the Gonstead work, first you're going to get a set of chapters. I'm going to tell you to read it twice, and then keep it in your toilet. And every time you go in, read another chapter while you're sitting taking care of business. And then we'll get you used to the things that you can do. So let's start looking at x-rays and get them working through the x-ray process. Once they understand how to put lines on them and number them and put a listing on there, then you start to teach them how to interpret them, because those are two different things. Anybody can put lines on them and say, yes, that's an ASEX right hip, and there's a PR at T7. That's not x-ray interpretation. That, if you understand and can interpret x-rays, now you see that they tell the story of your patient's life, and they are the only concrete visual indicator we have of subluxation. Everything else we're feeling, or we think we're feeling, we're seeing evidence of interference, but it doesn't tell you how to correct anything. If you're doing a case history and seeing, symptomatology, or I call it chiropractic physiology, there's a lot of different things that cause a headache. Some are subluxation, some are alcohol, some are tumors. There's so many different things going on. You have to understand them, but the x-ray it's all comes down to the spine. And the x-ray is the only thing that actually images and shows us the state of the spine. And then we branch out from there. When they come in, once the patients are used to them and they're used to seeing patients, because just talking to patients is, when you first have interns and associates, it's painful sometimes to sit and listen to them put their foot in their mouth, and most patients are pretty understanding and gracious when they do that, but there's always a couple, and you got to have those few tough lessons to make you better. But then you start them, so you're going to let them start scoping, then you let them start palpating, so that they can kind of put together in their mind what they see on the scope, what they feel with their fingers, with what they find on the x-ray, and then what the patient's saying. So it's just a gradual step-by-step process.
It's a true method.
It is.
It's a true method. And my mentor, Larry Goodman, would always tell me it's a sequence of life. And if you go out of sequence with anything, you have to go and repeat it. And I think what you're talking about earlier is reading things twice. It's an old carpenter terminology, is measure twice and cut once. And I think that that's a big thing for people to understand, is you got to like measure it twice and read it twice and actually get intelligent with the process. And then
Yeah.
you can actually disseminate the information, and then you can apply it.
Yep. Yeah, that's a great thing, measure twice and cut once. And Clarence, had a saying, take all the time necessary to find your patient's subluxation. Check and recheck your X-ray, your instrumentation, your palpation, your visualization. Basically, the chiropractor's version of measure twice and cut once.
But yeah, I think that there's a lot that comes into it. And as I've listened to what your framework is, a lot of what you're saying is this is how you want to become competent if you want to become the chiropractor as a first year person. Now, I know a lot of the work that you've done is post grad, with all those letters after your name there. Why is it important for chiropractors to continuously, I guess chiropractors will call it dipping themselves into it, but why is it important for you to continuously like keep learning and keep teaching?
There's many reasons. The first reason is just to be around people like yourself, the same mindset. No one. I mean, I had a patient come in yesterday, referred in by another patient. She's a nurse that left nursing, and um, she'd fall under, what are we, alternative healthcare. We get lumped in. She doesn't do anything that a nurse in a hospital would do. Helps a ton of people. And uh, this guy, I looked at his intake form, and he didn't have anything listed on there. And I went up to the desk and said, he didn't fill it out. And they said he has no complaints. He was just told that he's out of balance. He's got to come in. So I went ahead and talked with him, and everybody's got some complaints, but he really didn't have anything that ever would have driven him to see a chiropractor, and he'd never seen a chiropractor ever in his life. And once you start drilling down and going through the history, asking the questions, doing the tests, you started immediately finding issues. And I always say, when you take a history, the history ends when the patient dies, you retire, or they move away and you hand the care off to someone else. That's when the history ends, because everybody forgets things. I have patients forget all kinds of stuff. I remember when right as I graduated from school, I was still working for Troxell while I was setting up my first office. I go to do a report of findings on a guy. And so I look at his history. I didn't see him for the exam. I wasn't there that day. And I said, introduce myself. I said, a couple of questions here. Looking at your x-rays, and it's obvious you had a car accident. I don't see one enlisted here. Tell me about your car accident. And he says, well, I've never been in a car accident. I said, well, your x-rays very plainly say you were, and the x-rays don't lie. And he's like, are you calling me a liar? I'm like, no, I'm not calling you a liar. So I just go through, and all of a sudden he says, well, I wasn't driving a car. I was driving a truck. Like, what? He says, my accident, I was driving a truck. I said, it's a figure of speech. You could have been driving a snowmobile, a motorcycle. It's an accident. And he says, I completely forgot about it till right now. And he goes on to tell me the story. He's driving in Colorado. He's driving down the mountains at dusk. It's raining. He's following a dump truck. I heard an elk run across the road. Dump truck spins out. He says, I hit the dump truck at 55 miles an hour, shake the cobwebs off, and I see a logging truck is going to hit me. So he rolls onto the floor of the cab, gets hit by the logging truck. If he hadn't have done that, he'd have died, because a log came through the cab of the truck and would have taken his head off. He goes, now I got to squeeze between the dash and the log, and I got to punch out the windshield because my truck's on fire. And he had to roll through the fire to get out of the truck.
How do you
Andy forgot that.
How do you forget that?
And I said, and I wish I remembered it, was smart enough to write down his name, because I said, "Sir, you're an idiot. That's the best story I've ever heard, and I'm sure I'm going to tell it often." So if you hear this, if you're a patient and you hear this, I'm still thinking of you. Man, and that happens all the time. Patients, they come back days or weeks later, and then they remember their car accident, and they forget all the slips and falls. So those things are really, really strange. You have to understand the history and work through those things. You have to have that system in place to get you from a rookie to seasoned veteran to the top of the heap.
Yeah, it's always interesting to hear, people's case history about what they don't share or what they have forgotten.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always really, to see like how somebody's spine got to the way it looks.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's just a big takeaway for anybody that's a seasoned practitioner or somebody that is thinking about getting into the profession. There's a lot that goes into actually getting people to do a proper case history. When I sign people up, I say, look, we're going to do a full exam, consultation, health history. And the real part about all of what I say there is people don't really understand how to do a case history.
Yeah.
And the doc just is, interested about doing their day one and their day two properly, but people don't really get to the point where they understand like a case history, and the analysis of the case is just as important as the adjustment. And you got to know what you're dealing with most people. And so many times people have traumas and they want to forget them, but their spine never forgets them, because the physiology, it shifts once people are damaged.
It certainly does. It certainly does. And we forget, when we're kids, you fall down and break a bone, and very often by the time you're an adult, you can't even tell where that bone was broken. But once you get to puberty, get through puberty, now whatever you have is permanent, and you're just managing it. That's that's the joke that DC stands for Doctor of Chronics, because everybody that comes in has got chronic issues.
Mm-hmm. Well, I am just going to let everybody know that the sound quality is a little poor right now. So I'm going to restart this page briefly, and hopefully it gives us some clarity. I did it once, but I'm still hearing this hum in the background. Happened at about the 10-minute mark. So let me try that one more time.
I'm trying to entertain while you're gone. This is, you can see a little parallel and a pencil. This is a slide that, here, this would make it easier. This is a slide, maybe you can see it better there, that was used to teach in the seminars.
Do you maybe have something going on with your audio on your end?
I don't know.
Can you maybe move the computer around just a bit, see if it's maybe on your end?
I don't know how that would happen. I didn't move anything. I just have a desktop, and then I have my camera.
Yeah, I know. It's just the 10-minute mark. I noticed it, and I was like, hopefully this just goes away.
Okay. I don't hear a hum. I just hear static whenever you say something.
And I hear something every time you say something.
Okay. All right.
We might have to reschedule this one just because I don't want to put out a bad product.
Yeah. It's the CCE.
Probably. Give me a second. I'm just going to hit a quick refresh on the whole computer.
All right.
You made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. This episode is brought to you by Peach State Payments, ethical processing, more profit, less stress. Chiro HD, more than an EHR, practice management simplified. The Chiro Speaking Company, attract, educate, and convert. ChiroSpring, cloud-based, user-friendly software with all the essential features chiropractors need. OmniWave, redefining comfort and acoustic wave technology. Chiro Health USA, ChiroScript AI, Chiro Moguls, Pure Chiro Notes, 5-Star Forge, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, Life Chiropractic College West, and the IFCO. Let's hustle. I think that we should definitely talk about your course now, the Immortal Chiro, just because I believe that that's important to touch on. And I believe that we should also have another episode just because of the technical issues. But like they always say, done is better than perfect.
That's true. And twist my arm. It's it's never never painful. It's always enjoyable having
Yeah.
spend time chatting with you.
But the thing is that now we have a clear message, and the audio is definitely cleaned up. And I do apologize to anybody out there that will listen to us or watch us later. We're going to do our best in post production to clean this up, and I'll have a special editing job for my team.
There you go.
The Immortal Chiro. I know you're going around the world teaching now and doing seminars and teaching people about the Gonstead method. Let's share with people about that program.
All right. So, the Immortal, but my wife was like, why Immortal Chiro? And it just hit me one day. So immortal, if you look at the word, it's obviously immortal, but it's also I'm mortal. And, I'm not going to be able to do this forever. And everybody kind of wants to, my wife's word is legacy. She was always about legacy, and it's about what happens when you're gone. And some people in the profession, Dee Dee, BJ, Clarence, Clay Thompson, some of these people have achieved a sense of immortality by doing what they did. They created history. They are well known and will be for years. BJ died in 1961, and we still talk about him and think about him on a daily basis. And so I kind of create a home for stuff like that. And it started, right now there's two courses on there. One of them is a 4-hour video on my process. 4 or 5 years ago when I did this. It's a little different now, so I have to do an updated one. But from taking the X-rays to stitching them together to marking them to this is what they mean to me, and then I did some extremity stuff. People were asking questions. It was a 4-hour live stream, so I'm running the chat over here and answering questions. I had one person on that was helping me and pointing stuff out to me when questions were coming up. And it was just a fun thing. And then the other one is the 2020 Tool Academy. So I do some consulting and help 2020 develop their X-ray tools. And I get questions from all these people. How do I do this? How do I do this? How do I do this? So there's 25 videos in there covering almost all the tools that they have so that you can learn how to use them. And those were the easy ones that I pretty much had done already. The stuff that's upcoming is I'm going to have a philosophy course in there. When I was in Malaysia in December, and I did 2 days of philosophy, but that's a one and done. And I always hated the idea of they have these mission trips. All the chiropractic schools, they send the kids over for a week. They go to India or someplace, and that's great for the students getting some experience. But what about those people? Are they get adjusted, once and then they have no care? There's better ways to do that, and so it's the same thing. I go to South America or Asia or wherever and teach philosophy, for 1 or 2 days, and then they don't get it anymore. So creating a home that hopefully will stir up everybody and get them excited about some of these philosophy events, the philosophy diplomate course that I help teach. So we need more grounding in the why and the not the technical aspects, but the mental aspects of what we do. The difference between someone that you have a cancer patient walk in, some chiropractors are going to say we don't take care of people with cancer, go someplace else. The philosophically grounded chiropractor is going to say this person has a spine, they are going to adapt better without subluxation, so I'm going to work on that. I'm not treating anything. I don't treat back pain, I don't treat headaches. I correct subluxation so the body can do what it's designed to do, which is heal and express coordination. And so we need more people with that mindset in there. So to drive people there, and then also give them the technical tools, the analysis, like we started out, is the most important part of any chiropractor visit to a chiropractor. Is everything that happens before they put their hands on and adjust you, because that's what determines if they're on the right bone and working in the right direction. Period.
Well,
So,
yeah. Well, when you say this stuff, I can't help but think of it being like a learning library.
exactly.
And
That's a
and
great
you
idea to call it.
and you have Dan Lyons in your pocket every day. Like
I hope you have big pockets.
and you can constantly plug into listen to the audios of you, or you can constantly refer back to the philosophy videos, or you
Exactly.
can constantly refer back to the learning library, the resources in there to understand the analysis or understand the scoping or understand the placement. Like, I don't think there could be more of a valuable resource out there. Like you're saying, you go somewhere, you drop in and you do a two-day intensive with people, but then what's next? Like, how do they continue that?
Exactly.
So I think having this learning library is invaluable for people to have you as their basically coach on a day-to-day basis if they need a refresher, and then they can listen to it twice.
Yeah. Or every single day. The hard part, I love doing that. And, when you leave wherever I'm teaching, then you get all these messages and emails, and it's almost impossible. I feel horrible because you can't keep up with them all. But I want to support everybody. I'd love to be able to have a face-to-face conversation with every single chiropractor on the planet. I think the last 2 years, I got to nearly 2% of the chiropractors around the world. If you look at all the chiropractors I got to be in front of, as phenomenal, because that's a lot of people. And now we need to support and nurture all that. And the last part of that is some live interaction, which would be in the immortal Chiro world, would be a live like pit class where people can send their cases in that they're struggling with, send the x-rays, and we walk through everything that they have done, what they find, what they see, and then I add in my 30 years experience to help get them through those stuck spots and hopefully get that patient better response.
Well, when I started doing any of the work that I've ever done in chiropractic, when it came to like creating productions, I always told myself I wanted to create projects that people would use.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to create something that just gets put on a shelf and is admired. That's why I create so much content, is because I want people to use the things that we produce.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I can't help but think that you creating this Immortal Chiro program, what it would do for people to have something user friendly that would always be a resource to them, with a depository of invaluable information, that if they want to become the best of the best, then they can have something to always refer back to. And then they can, once again, come see you speak at the seminars, build a relationship with you. But I just honestly don't think people understand how much effort goes into getting to a seminar to be a speaker. And then the management that it takes from making an impact on giving everybody attention that desires attention from after the aftermath of doing a presentation, and how much connection that people desire because of the impact that we make. And it would just make sense. Like I created a course called New Patients in a Box. So when
Mhm.
people work with me and they talk to me, I'm like, great, you can go get the course. It's $1,600, plug into it. And now you have me in your pocket all day. Every time you have a question, you have a resource that you can go back to and study the game and get really good at marketing. And I think it's the same way for what you're doing. It's just coming from a different scope. Is it's understanding how to take care of the patient from a day-to-day analysis to get the best results possible, and having that as the resource. Once they don't have you on stage anymore, they can go and drop in anytime they want to and learn from you. And with my course, I created it to be audio, I created it to be PDF so people can read it, and I created videos. So whether somebody is a visual learner, they
Mhm.
learn from reading, or they learn from audios, there's a resource for everybody to take themselves on that journey and to learn. And I think that when you frame this out the way you want to, I believe that people are going to have that opportunity to read, watch, or listen. And
Absolutely. And it's, you know, they blend together because if you're a great marketer, but you're not a good clinician, that's not good, because then you got a you're constantly losing patients and turning patients off because they're like, I tried chiropractic, I hated it. They didn't like something about it. If you're and I know lots of great clinicians that don't understand marketing, that are sitting there. They should be as busy as they would ever want to be, but they have very slow practices.
so yeah, it's like Sid Williams would say, you have to have your business hand and
Then
you
your
have to have
service hand.
in your service hand. And I think that that's the hardest thing for anybody that is really talented. Grant Cardone once told me that best known will beat best any day. And if you know how to go out there and become the best known,
Yeah,
like you can have lack of fundamentals and still win. Not saying I'm applauding that, but I believe that you should be the best, but you should also work really hard to become the best known. And
absolutely.
I think that that's like the silver lining within any of these things that happen in the chiropractic space. As you're saying, greatest practitioner doesn't know how to make themselves busy. And
Exactly.
that's really the problem. Is sometimes people are so afraid of like their own potential that they just busy themselves up and get more degrees and more diplomates and more and more and more.
Are you picking on me because I got alphabet soup up there?
I'm not. But you understand the application from both sides,
Yes.
how to build a practice, but also how to do it the right way.
Hmm.
And I think that there are some people that are career they just they go after one degree after the next degree, and they're afraid of actually applying, is
Yeah.
what I'm saying.
Oh, absolutely. And if they are happy doing that, you can't. This is America. We have free will. I There's nothing wrong with that, except then you have all this knowledge and you don't really get to share it unless you find a way to teach,
Yes.
and share that, because you've assimilated all these things, you've put them together in your mind in a way that works. Then you want to share it, and that's kind of what you've done, what I've done with this. I've been teaching for 30 years. Nearly 30 years. Is 29 years I've been in practice, and teaching the whole time. You learn so many things, and I know for me, I assume everybody that's been out more than 8 years, 5 8 years, they've seen all the videos, they've heard all the talks, they know everything. And then someone that I respect and that I'll go and sit and listen to, and really want to hope to get some gems from, they'll start asking me questions, and then I realize that maybe I do know a few more things than the average person. So, and really, my wife, God bless her, she's been telling me for years, you got to put all this stuff out there because, if something happens to you, you die. All this stuff is gone.
Well, that's what I do is I go around the country and I meet with some of the greatest chiropractors in the world.
Hmm.
And I just ask my buddies that are really good at adjusting. You guys need to start teaching technique seminars, man. Like, I know you care about your busy practice, but you got to start teaching people how to do what you do. And I think that that's one of the big callings for me is to get these guys that have been practicing for 20 years and to say, look, man, you got to start holding small seminars and you got to start teaching people how to adjust, because I think that that's the real art of this profession. And a lot of people just need to know how to move the bones.
See, and I don't know if I can 100% agree with that. Just in that those people are great. Part of how they're great, why they are great. There's because they understand what they learned in school and in practice, the analysis. But the other part is the repetition. Before we got on, you were talking about mentoring that kid and showing up every day and doing it every day, every day, every day. That's when you start to really get good, because I can teach you how to do cervical chair, how to stabilize, how to set up, how to palpate, find the right spot, take all the slack out of the joint and thrust. But if you're only doing it a couple times a day, you never really get good. If you're trying to learn how to shoot a free throw and you only shoot 3 free throws a day, or even 10 a day, 20 a day, you don't really get good. And for chiropractic, for adjusting, it's 20 visits a day, 100 a week is like the threshold where you really all of a sudden it starts to click and you start to get better at it. And then you get better results. Patients start to refer more, you get busier and busier, but it's that 20 repetitions a day. And I remember way back, I'm the first year or two out of school, I'm at a seminar and my mentor, Larry Troxell's watching me take care of a couple people asked me to adjust them. And he looks at me, he's like, "You're getting really busy." And I said, "How do you know?" And I want you to guess what I did that he knew I was really busy.
Because you did your checks and analysis.
Nope.
No?
Nope. It was how easily I tore the face paper with my finger. And it's funny because if you go to seminars, some people have buy the face paper with the split all in there, and we never did. It was just deli
It was on a
paper.
roll.
It's on a roll, or you just get a box. We'd always have a box on the high-low. You have the roll, but then you have a box to just set a sheet down on the pelvic bench. But then if you go to the knee chest, then you had to tear the hole, otherwise the patient suffocates. And if you're a student or a new practitioner, suffocating your patients is not a good idea. Just that little paper there. But you just put the paper on there and you do that. And then he said that. So then I started watching other people and watch them struggle doing that. And it's funny because the kids that I take care of and some of the adults, when I tear the face paper, they're like, "How do you do that?" And they're like checking my hands. "Do you have a knife on your hands?" I'm like, "No, I want to have a knife on my hands." Like, how do you do that? It's just a nice, clean, straight tear. And it's just because that simple thing told him, Dr. Troxell, that I was busy. And there's the things you just don't even think about.
Yeah. And see, I could train 50 people to go out and do marketing, but it's just the one thing I say to people when I read through their little half sheet that they fill out for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I say to them, good news is you're an ideal candidate for what we do. I know we can help you. And just that one line alone, I see the physiology in that human shift.
They relax and stuff.
And they've been looking for somebody to tell them that their whole life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it took me a long time to understand that that's what the human connection of marketing is it's looking at somebody in their face and saying, The good news is you're an ideal candidate for what we do. I know we can help you. And you can just see this weight of fear leave
Oh,
them.
yeah.
And I say, do you know why this really works? Is because most people don't know where to go or who to trust. And I know that you coming in here, we're going to get a chance to earn your business and help you.
Yeah.
And just those simple lines, when you put them together, you build that rapport with somebody, and immediately they're excited because no one else has ever told them that before.
Mm-hmm.
The medical arena is so full of not interacting with people and giving people hope and promise. And I always tell people this too. Look, come in and see us for the first 2 visits. If you realize it's a great fit for you, stick with us.
Yeah.
If you come in for these first 2 visits, you realize it's not the right place for you, there's no strings attached for further care. But I guarantee you one thing, you're going to like us.
There you go.
And once again, it's not me selling it to them. It's giving them permission to trust us.
Yeah. I know, my friend Joel Kinch, and I know you know Joel from Mile High. I stole this from him. So he has the breakup discussion with his patients on his second day, and it's just like you sit down with them face to face, say, look, I want you to know this before we get too deep in this. Chiropractic is for everybody. Every human being has a spine. They all need chiropractic care. My office may not be for you. And if at some point we figure out, either you figure out that this office is not for you, or I figure out that you would be better served someplace else, that's okay. But I'm going to help you find the office that's right for you and just do the same. And that also takes a bunch of stress off there, because you're not just there for the money. It's you're
Mhm.
trying to do what's best for them. And that's what I wanted to say next is that's why you're so good at the marketing. It's because of your why. You're fully invested in chiropractic. I mean, the other people you see on Facebook that are, we're going to get you all these new patients that suck all the time. They're going to take $5,000 a month out of your pocket for new patients that don't really get it. They're not out there talking to chiropractors, not doing just bringing chiropractic to the people. They're just trying to get people in a door, because that's how they make money. You love chiropractic. You've been doing this for 8 years. When it was slow, you're slugging it out. Now that you're riding, high on the wave, you still love it even more, and you just pour the gas on, and that comes through. And that's
Mhm.
the same thing in the office. When you are on top of the world because you love chiropractic, you're loving serving your patients, it just draws more people to you. And showing up that way day after day after day is how you win.
Amen, brother. Well, I know our days are getting a little bit long on us, and we had a little technical glitch there in the middle of today's show. So, really appreciate you being on with me today. Do you have any web links that you can send people to if they want to learn more from you?
Yeah, if you immortalchiro.com, that's where you can go. My office is precisionchirogb.com. Either one, you can find me on Dr. Dan Lyons on Facebook. Follow me there. I post pretty regularly up there. I got out of the habit for a little while. I'm back into it, so I'll do Thursday and Friday little videos and some bigger stuff. And I got a couple of webinars I'm gonna do here this year. So there's a lot happening. If you want to come and see me speak, I'm going to be at the Berkshires in Mexico. Doesn't matter if you're not from Mexico. It's Mexico. We love it. We're going to go down. We're going to have a great seminar. We're going to eat some great food. Maybe have a little tequila. It's going to be a lot of fun. Jim's going to be there too. He's speaking as well. Um, um, we have the Gonstead Extravaganza. I think it's the last weekend in April at the Gonstead Clinic in Mount Horeb. If you've never been to that clinic, you have to. I don't care if you are an activator doctor, you need to go see the Gonstead Clinic. It is the only thing of its type in the profession. The reception room's 3,000 square feet. It's like a 26,000 square foot facility, complete lecture hall in the basement. We have 2 young doctors there. It's still active, seeing patients. They're getting busy and busier. It's a phenomenal architectural and chiropractic marvel. And you would go to Gonstead Methodology Institute.com to sign up for that seminar.
Well, I believe that Gonstead Clinic in Mount Horeb is a chiropractic national treasure.
Absolutely.
And I believe that anybody that's into architecture like Frank Lloyd Wright would be very impressed to come and just do a quick walk through that place and to learn from some of the greats that come into that big building and talk about the Gonstead technique. And you can go tour his private office and all types of cool stuff.
Absolutely.
Dan, I look forward to seeing you at the Berkshires.
It's going to be fun.
Thank you for being on with us today. It was a real pleasure. It's always great to catch up with you.
Likewise.
Go check them out. ImmortalChiro.com, guys. Go and get Dan Lyons' course. Have him in your pocket every time you need to refer to something to help you with your case management, your philosophy, your analysis, and the power of x-rays. PrecisionChiroGB.com. Check him out up there in Green Bay and catch the man on the road speaking. He's an amazing practitioner. National treasure, just like the Gonstead facility. This man lives and breathes this profession, and happy to call him a friend and a colleague. And can't wait to see you soon, brother.
All right.
I'm gonna close out episode 728 by telling you guys you're just one story away. Keep hustling. I'll see you guys on the next episode. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.